G'day guys, welcome to the SC Playbook question and answer podcast ahead of week 3 of the Whitzer Preseason Challenge that kicked off this morning. Not the Whitzer Challenge, but the Hull KR and the Broncos in the World Club Challenge. The mighty Hull KR, 4 trophies in a year, 30-24 over the Broncos. Pretty dominant up into that last sort of 15-20 minutes. So the Poms getting one over us early, and look, at the end of the day, good for footy in England, particularly in the north, a big spot for rugby league. As we know, they need a bit of help over there to continue to grow the game in their fight against rugby union. So well done to Hull KR and the team over there. An outstanding achievement. We'll touch on that very shortly. On today's show, of course, we'll go through the questions from the SC Playbook Discord Q&A and try and get through as many as we can. I have jumped into a few question and answers, live podcasts in the Discord the last couple of weeks, which has been really fun to do. Really sort of chilled out sort of vibe in that one, and people can get their questions on the fly and have a bit of a yarn, which has been good fun. Bit of extra time next week heading into round 1, which is wonderful. So keen to do more of those, and probably an extended Q&A podcast that goes out on Spotify and Apple each week as well, trying to pump through heaps of questions ahead of those Vegas fixtures. Before we get into the World Club Challenge, big news this morning. Xavier Coates, the poor bugger, I think an Achilles injury, which is set to see him miss a big portion of the season. It was, what have they said, expected to be sidelined for a minimum of 3 months, with an Achilles injury, which is freaking awful. So thoughts and concerns with Xavier Coates, hopefully 3 months, so 12 weeks, have him back around 10 or 11, probably best case scenario. So at least he will be back this season. It's not season ending, but no good nonetheless. Supercoach-wise, this does present a big opportunity for, I think, Moses Leo, the rugby union convert from over in New Zealand, 235k. I reckon we would have seen more of him last year if it hadn't been for injuries. And look, he'll come in, play on the wing for the Melbourne Storm. It's a good place to be. And I think he borders on must-have. Like, you're already looking at some really good cheapies in Makasini, Tommy Chester, Setu too, and a few there. So, look, I think I'm probably going to cash in, and I currently have 3 guns at CT Dub and a mid-ranger, but my mid-ranger was Moses Sully, who I was nervous about as is, and was after the Charity Shield. I know it's only 1 game, but he was probably on the out anyway. So, I might even just add in, I think, Moses Leo and have 4 of those CT Dub cheapies and just look to, rotate, play the best one on matchup each week and try and get some decent points out of them. And it also just further brings into the equation the opportunity to put a CT dub in flex. So a few opportunities there, guys. But some big news there. Again, certainly feeling for Xavier Coates, an Achilles one as well. That's a nasty sounding injury. So Moses Leo, though, becomes a massive Supercoach prospect if he does get the wing spot in round 1 for the Melbourne Storm, which I suspect he probably will. In terms of the World Club Challenge, the sort of eye catches out of that one, the game in general, it was 18-4 at halftime. They came out and then scored the first try after halftime. The Hull KR did. So they were absolutely pumping them. And I wasn't shocked to see, no one was shocked to see. It was nearly expected, but Brisbane come home with a wet sail, got it back to within 6 points and got really close in this game to bringing a bit of a miraculous victory. A few things like Madge Maguire is renowned for hard pre-seasons and having players rock hard fit. So we expected them to come home hard in the back end of the game. The Pommies running out of steam after being pretty dominant throughout the first half and early into the second half. Payne Haas, the big one, played 80 minutes. And I know people say there was Corey Jensen only played a handful of minutes, then wasn't able to continue in the game, unfortunately for him. So Haas minutes may be inflated. In my eyes, it's irrelevant. The fact is that because he went off early, they're able to inject another forward from that 6-man bench, the Brisbane Broncos. And I know it was a big one for Madge Maguire and wanting to win this game and get another trophy, but at the end of the day, he's still shown straight away. I know it's an important one, but it's still for him preseason game, right? That he's happy to play Payne Haas 80. He didn't have to, and he did. So Payne Haas getting through, look, let's have a look at his numbers. They'll be absurd. Paddy Carrigan, 50 tackles. He scored a try as well, backing up there. He's close to a must-have, I think, Payne Haas. The fact that just the 80 minutes shows there's no physical concerns. It shows that Madge is happy to play him big. And the other thing, the reality is, and in a perfect world, Madge be on, we'll conserve Payne Haas and get him right for finals. He's going to the Bunnies next year, so Madge Maguire's going, mate, get us to top 4 and let's win another title. 16 runs for 143 metres for Payne Haas, 47 tackles with 1 miss, absurd. So, Payne Haas becomes a near must, or probably was a near must anyway, but you'd be very wary of not playing him. I think they had in commentary about 5 offloads. I'm just checking what NRL stats has him at, but he was offloading at will too. 5 offloads, there you go. So Payne Haas, I think just get him in. I wouldn't get too cute with that one. Reece Walsh, obviously a big watch. He looked pretty sharp, started slow, but again, English conditions, cold night over there, pummeled early the Broncos, came out a bit complacent, I think. What I will say about this result, I think it's the second best thing that could have happened to them. I think the best thing that could have happened to them was they lost 30-4 and completely had any complacency knocked out of them. The fact that they flew home as expected, I think if they flew home and won, I genuinely believe they're going around one going, we can come back from anything, like we're good, no worries. But this is just a little reminder that they've gone over to England, they've lost to a Super League club, and again, credit to Hull KR, they're outstanding this game, at least for 65 minutes, but I just think it's a bit of a wake-up call for the Broncos that, they came home in so many of those games in the back end of the season, in particular in finals, and Madge be trying to knock it out of him. Guys, we can't afford to be doing this and relying on Walsh brilliant in the last 15 minutes of games. So I think the loss will actually do wonders for the Brisbane Broncos going into the season rather than having actually come back and won that in the final minutes. Reece Walsh, he looked pretty freakish, didn't he? Again, it was a mixed bag, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, 2 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists. He's going to... I still think the Broncos start the season a bit slower for those kind of reasons that I just mentioned. It's also a relatively tough draw early on. So I don't know if Reece Walsh hits his price or his average from last year or whatever, and then you add in the fact that we think fullbacks are going to have less try assists, line assists. I want to go against him, but it's a scary prospect to not have Reece Walsh early on in the season. Gurmat Shibasaki sent a pretty timely reminder. It wasn't... a case of a one-hit wonder for Shibasaki. Scored 2 tries. He was a whisker from scoring a 3rd one as well. The combination of Walsh and Shibasaki there looked really, really good. Just Walsh throwing that face ball to a hard-running Shibasaki. Plenty of tries coming off that this year. 18 runs and 213 metres, Shibasaki. A line break in there, 10 tackle busts. 1 offload. I haven't got the Supercoach stats for it yet. I'll go and check them out after this show, but he's gone huge in that one. So Shibasaki, again, we're talking about all these centres and you see all these names, Iro, Farnworth, blokes thrown about. There hasn't been a lot of chat about Shibasaki. Perhaps that is because he's probably more of a ball-running centre, hits hard lines, takes them on himself rather than the tip-on try assist, but he's still going to get them. They're still going to happen. So Shibasaki, one that might be flying under the radar a little bit. Paddy Carrigan, what did he end up with? He had that try supporting, played big minutes in this one. Again, impacted a little by the Jensen only getting a minute in, but nonetheless, Paddy Carrigan, 16 runs for 164 metres, 50 tackles, 3 misses. Hard to knock, isn't it? So, a few little eye catches out of the World Club Challenge. All right, let's get into a few questions. First one coming in from Matty L. Listening to the beers comparison between Sanders and Atkinson, and he mentioned the Kobe Black risk for Sanders, but is their job security risk not the same with King Tongia lurking behind Atkinson? It's not the same, but there is risk, sure. I think if Sanders starts slow, I don't think there's much between him and Kobe Black. That being said, Kobe Black is unavailable at the moment. He's got an injury niggle. I don't know if he'll be available for round 1 or when he's expected to play, but I just think if the Raiders start slow, and Kobe Black starts well in New South Wales Cup, I don't think Ricky will be too reluctant to change him. I don't think he'd drop sort of Sanders in the first 4 or 5 rounds, but I can see him with a poor start getting dropped before Atkinson, who has a lot more first-grade experience, has a lot more runs on the board. I just think that Atkinson's job security isn't terrific. It's solid, but it's not terrific. And there's a few blokes there knocking the door down for a half spot at the Dragons as well, you got to remember. So I just think Atkinson gets the first 5-6 sort of rounds, and the Dragons would have to be pretty bad in terms of him getting dropped for King Tongia. Could happen at some point. I think he's good for, at least the start of the season. So I think his job security is slightly better than Ethan Sanders. But to your point, mate, Raiders could start well, Sanders starts playing well, Dragons start poorly, Atkinson could get dropped and Sanders goes on about his merry way. So, yeah, it's valid, but I like Atkinson's job security just a little bit better. All righty. Question coming in from Brad. Just wondering what your thoughts are on Josh Adokar, the Fox. I have this feeling as though he's going to have a big year. Coming off the Ashes in England and played quite well in the All-Stars game, but not sure how he goes scoring-wise with the new system. Okay, so first and foremost, as always, I repeat this and I'll continue to repeat this, but back yourself. Fox is not for me, and I'll get to reasons why very shortly, but if you think he's in for a big year and going to start hot and Parramatta start hot, go for it. Don't let me deter you if you're confident on him. Around the new scoring system, wingers don't worry me. They're not really getting points for line assists and try assists and last pass sort of things anyway on the edge of the back line. So scoring system-wise, it won't change too much. And then on top of that, like the other one is tackles. Wingers make about 3 a game. So not a major difference there. In terms of his scoring this year, I mean, he averaged 60 last year, which is, significantly better than what he'd done in previous years anyway. That was in 80 minutes per game. He scored a lot of tries last season. Look at this. He finished the season with 3-1, 2-0, 2-1-1. And the thing I'll add in there is playing on the left wing at the Eels, Dylan Brown, one of the best in the game, arguably the best in the game, probably behind maybe an Isaiah Katoa now, getting into the line and squaring up and playing late and creating space for those blokes on his left edge, which was Josh Adokar. So with Pizzette now in that position, who does it well as well, but he's not Dill Brown, I actually think the opportunities are going to be a little bit more limited. All that being said, Parramatta look like they're going to be a better side this year, so he could go well. I think there's better buys than Josh Adokar. One from Stormer. Hey, Timmy, who would you pick between Moses, Galvin, and Dewey? Could make a case for all of them. I think right now the man is Moses out of those 3. He's one that stands out. I think he's the best footballer out of the 3 of them in the peak prime of his career. I think the fact that he gets the goal kicking back with Lomax gone, he's at a good price, Parramatta on the up. I think he's the play. I do. That's not to deter you from Galvin, who I think he's in for a big year. I think he's undervalued. I think Adam Dewey is undervalued, and I have a huge watch on Adam Dewey in the trials this weekend. That combination with Luai, a full preseason at halfback, fully fit. We know he's had plenty of injury concerns in the past. I'm very intrigued by Adam Dewey. That being said, he'd have to kill it to probably elevate him into a halfback position, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of the weekend and the end of that trial and people are going, geez, do we start with Adam Dewey? You add on top of it as well the round 1 bye. Not many people are probably going to go with him for that reason, and yeah, it could be a cheeky little pod. So my order right now would be Moses, not much between Galvin and Dewey. I'd probably put Dewey just ahead at the moment, but yeah, not much between them. Guys and girls, we are extremely excited to announce once again that we have partnered with Mountain Culture Beer Co. to kick off the 2026 NRL Supercoach season. If you have been living under a mountain and you've missed the memo, they are rated Australia's #1 brewery, winning the prestigious Gab's Hottest 100 Craft Beer Award for their Status Quo Pale Ale. 4 years on the trot. Monumental. It's brewed at the foot of the Blue Mountains, the most impressive 4-peat to come out of the region in just about as long as I can remember. And it got me thinking about some of the biggest changes in NRL and rugby league and just history. Joey Johns-Tucker, Origin 96, Brimo to the Poms in 2025, Jake Granville to fullback, 2019-20, when was that? Madness. Payne Haas to the Bunny, Supercoach, locking in a new stat system after the game has launched. But guys, with change comes greatness. And for all the beer lovers out there, I'm going to set you a challenge. If you sit there and you drink the same beer week in, week out, you have done since you turned 18 and you're legal enough to have a drink, change it up. Go to your local, whether it's the bottle shop, whether it's the pub, and get a Mountain Culture Status Quo Pale Ale. Freshen it up. Try something different for once in your life and give it a crack. If you're keen to give it a crack yourself, head to www.mountainculture.com.au and use the discount code Mountain Culture 4-Pete, that is 4 to receive 10% off your first order. The link to that, the code, etc., is in the description of the podcast. Now, I'm not going to crack this open right now. It is 10 a.m. in the morning, so I'm going to wait till at least 12 o'clock on Friday to crack this one. But a great drop, guys. Go and check it out yourself. Question from Alkirk. Hey, Tim, first time questioner. What do you think about running Simpkins and Marnie as hookers rather than Cheese? Prior to the trial teams and Mamazelos playing the Charity Shield in a very weak reserve grade Bunnies side and Cheese not featuring, and then in the second trial for the Bunnies, Cheese being named to start at hooker, prior to these, I would have said, yeah, go for it because Cheese could easily average 30 and you get a jump on people. I just think it's a bit indicative that, a bit telling, I should say, that Cheese has been named to start in this trial and the way it's all played out. So I'm sort of thinking that perhaps come round 1 for the Rabbitohs, Cheese starts at 9 for the Bunnies, maybe gets through the grunt work early on, the first 20 minutes, then Mamazelos comes on and Cheese probably shifts to like a middle forward role. So for this reason, I think I like it for Cheese. So whilst I do like the other two options, I think if Cheese is named to start round 1 at, what is he, 170, 200k sort of cheaper, I think it's worth going with Cheese. I think there's more attack in him as well than the other boys. So I think Cheese is the play. If Cheese does come off the bench, go for it. I don't mind it at all. Next one from the Googleizer. Hey, Timmy, who's likely to get dual position before round 1? Now, I don't know, but the one that I do know, it sounds like Dill Brown will get it. It just depends. It depends where he's named. If Dill Brown is named at 5'8" in round 1, word from HQ is that he'll probably get the dual 5'8" halfback, which is huge. I know there's a lot of super coaches banking on D-bags to get 5'8" to slot him in there. If he gets named at 7, well, he won't get it. So big watch on that one. In terms of other guys, yeah, I'm not too sure, mate. There might be someone like a Tino Malawi. If he gets named at front row, there are a few options there. Like they could play a Cooper Byatt at lock or a Chris Randall, especially now that there's been that injury to Jamin Jolliffe. So whether or not named at prop in round 1 will be enough for them to give Tino dual, I'm not sure, but certainly one to keep an eye out for and pretty significant for Supercoach because Tino at front row, hello. Question from JB. Is Isaiah Yeo a lock with the new tackling stats just to have a consistent 60-plus week in, week out? He's not a lock, but I think he's a good buy. And look, I won't speak about him for too long because I have spoken about Isaiah Yeo a fair bit this week and in recent weeks since the new stat system changed over. But, I mean, let's even have a look at his stats last year. He had a 41 in round 2 against the Roosters. Outside of that, his lowest scores were, there were a few 40s to be fair, but the lowest was 45, which at the end of the day, if your player comes out and scores 45, you're upset, but it's not the end of the world. It's not a 30 kind of thing. So there are a few scores in that 45 to 50 sort of range, but as I said, we know he's going to benefit from the new system on the tackles. We know that I think he was 5 or 6 or 7K, might have been about 7K underpriced based on the stats from last year. So, yeah, I think he's a great buy. He plays big minutes. He'll get extra tackle stats. That being said, he could easily come out and make his tackles per game, have 8 or 9 or 10 runs sort of thing, get no attack, and just averages 55 to 60 early on, not really changing value. So I think he's a really good buy, but if no sort of attack comes on top of his already very strong base, he's not a must, put it that way. He's a good buy, but he's far from a must. Just going through some of his numbers from last year. Last 2 games of the season, 68 in 80 minutes with 58 in base, 63 in 62 minutes with 59 in base, and that is his last 2 Raiders and Dragons. And in those ones, yeah, he's a beast. He gets through his work. That was without the new system. So you add probably 5 or 6 tackles to that, you're looking at mid-60s in base. Whew. All right, a question from Zetara, and he's thrown a few questions in here. Let's touch on the top one though, mate. Would love your opinions on all, but feel free to pick out what you like. I shall. Positions are up in the air for my side. Is JC, Jaden Campbell, an option who can compete with Cleary and Hines? Freaking oath he is. Yeah. He's like a quality goal kicking, ball running, creative weapon. I was going to say genius, but let's just say weapon for now. Genius is probably a step above, but he certainly has it about him. You sit there and think, base not great because not missed tackles and just a few little bits and pieces, but base 27 last year, but it's the power that comes in for Jaden Campbell. Tackle bust, his offloads, obviously he runs the ball a lot, the goal kicking on top of it. And yeah, Titans look great in the first trial. Take that with a huge grain of salt, but I think they're going to have points in them if nothing else. So Like, he could come out and I don't think he'll come out and explode early, especially like Sharks round one in Cronulla. It's a tough matchup, but he could, like he had 73 last season, 72 the year before. They're elite numbers, and a full season, if he can stay fit, at least for the early part of the year, there's no reason why he can't elevate to a 75, 80 average, even if the bigger scores don't come early on, as we'll probably expect. So I have no knock on. I'm genuinely so torn on my starting halfback that you could list 10 blokes and you could even add the double cheapy halfback in there, and I can't knock any major decision because I don't know who I'm going myself, and I'm not tossing up between one or two or three blokes. There's honestly about five of them that I'm considering at the moment. So a big watch in trials this week. You know, we can only take so much from trials, but one thing we can do is we can see two things. How fit do they look? Are they moving well? Do they look like they're carrying anything? You know, if some bloke comes out with 3 tons of strapping tape around their knees, that's probably a bit of a red flag. But if, especially a half, are they taking the line on and running, or are they just distributing and giving early? These little signs of confidence and where their body's at and all these sorts of things. Again, it's a trial, so they might not look to take it on as much. But yeah, I think let's have a look at trials this weekend and really reassess. And I think we might deep dive on Playbook next week into the halfback position, because I mean, I need to get an all-star panel on the show and help me with my decision, because I'm not sure. But yeah, in terms of Jaden Campbell, why not? Here's one from a guru in his own right, Sam Shembry. And it's a fascinating one that I have spoken about during this week a fair bit as well. However, there's updated news. With the late mail guru Sammy posting about McEwen this morning, would you be interested, mate, back starting and had that huge work rate and base and power? Yeah, I mean, I already said that I was keen on Jermaine McEwen. And the word from Barry Toohey, the post was, DT asked on Twitter, shout out to Barry Toohey as well, the Newcastle Herald journo, I think he's at these days. Just an absolute weapon and very transparent, and my word is he in the know. He says, hey Barry, would you expect McEwen on the edge and Thomas Cant to thrown in the middle, or will they share that role? Baz says, I'm expecting McEwen to start. Cant is versatile, so could come in a few positions. This isn't like a surprising news from Baz and the Knights. Like, I think we all expected McEwen, as per the back end of last year, to start. It's just thrown a bit of a spanner in the works for people off the back of the fact that he was pulled out of the first trial with a niggling injury, then came off the bench in the second one, and then Thomas Cant's been goal kicking as well. But I think it's purely because there was some sort of niggle that they were, monitoring for Jermaine McEwen. But he looks like he's their starting big minute back row for me. So, yeah, I think they'll want him to be an 80-minute edge for them, provided his body's good to go. So if we can get a bit more word out of, where he's exactly at, going into that Vegas fixture. But, he's a big worker. He's got some attacking upside. I think he's a good buy at a tick over 400K. Obviously has to be named to start round one. The risk is that if he's eased into the season in minutes in that 50 to 60-minute mark, because of the injury concern, or maybe it's just the plan of Justin Holbrook to share that role with Thomas Cantor or whoever it might be, he could plod around the 450K mark. So, yeah, prior to the injury concerns, he was straight in my team. But, yeah, if he's named to start in Vegas, huge option. Now, I flagged McEwen as a pod play of the week at really low ownership, probably because of those injury concerns. That was on the Playbook podcast on Tuesday. We dug into our sub 10, 15% sort of owned players to begin the season. He was the pod of the week, and that was before the Baz Toohey tweet, which set the Supercoach world alight, as Baz tends to do. But the NordVPN pod play for this week, and a huge watch heading into the trials, Selwyn Cobbo. Now, I know this goes against a little bit about my early season philosophy around I want to start with centres this year because I think they're undervalued as opposed to wingers. But I've touched on him a little bit this week, but I'm just curious to see the Dolphins with Herbie on the left edge, Cobbo outside him. I think Cobbo spent time at centre in the last trial, no Herbie there, and just the magic that Isaiah Katoa can weave. And they were just piling points on for fun last season. And I did say it during the week, but Herbie, unbelievable last year. But he has half the attacking stats that he does last year if he has another half inside him, not named Isaiah Katoa, because the amount of space he creates for those blokes out wide is phenomenal. a cheeky little Herbie Cobbo stack to start the year at an edge that they are just going to hammer all year. I mean, I'm interested. So I really want to see how Cobbo goes. He's currently owned by 17.8% of Supercoaches. If he has a stinker or the Dolphins are pouring the trial this weekend, that'll probably drop. If he comes out and scores a double outside Herbie with tip-ons, the ownership of Cobbo and Herbie is probably going to rise significantly. So a huge, huge watch on Selwyn Cobbo this weekend, and the Dolphins in general, who I think we all think are in for a big year. So guys, if you are after a point of difference online, look no further than NordVPN. We hear these horror stories of cyber hacks all the time. Like anything, the initial thoughts there are that it will not happen to me. Well, here's a hot take. Not a hot take, it's fact. Happened to me last year. I'd given anything to have had NordVPN in place, protecting my data online. I lost cash, my mobile number, emails, social channels, bank cards, and a ton more. Absolutely rocked me to the core. Could have been easily avoided had I been better prepared with NordVPN. It is premium cybersecurity for the price of a cup of coffee per month. Protection aside, guys, we're sports fans here. Nord also allows you to access content that's not in your region with one click. If you're abroad, you can access all of your streaming services from back home. European summer travelers, I'm looking at you. This has you written all over it. You can watch your footy overseas through NordVPN. To get the best discount off your plan, go to nordvpn.com/SC Playbook. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. That is in the podcast description, guys. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Trust me, as someone who's been through it all, I've been hit where it hurts. Protect yourself online and sleep easy. Could be the best thing that you ever do. Next question from Tyler, and sort of touching back on Moses Leo, but does a potential Moses Leo start make you more or less likely to start Makasini? With potential Lomax implications for him and labour for Chester, would waiting until Makasini's on the bubble in round 4 make more sense so you have an easy correction target? It's a very fascinating thought, Tyler, that I hadn't, the news only broke freaking an hour ago sort of thing, so it's very fresh to all of us, but good Supercoach thinking, good foresight. I see exactly what you're saying. Like, we know that there's threat around Chester. They do seem to love Chester up there, though. They like Laybard as well. So if the Cowboys come out and start really well, a soft draw to start the season, and then we know Laybard's due back from suspension round 3. So does he come straight back into the team in place of Chester? And Chester's under an injury concern of his own, expected to play, but if he starts the season slow, I don't think they're going to hesitate to bring in Labour. Zach Lomax could come to the Storm at any given time. He also may never end up down there, but I think especially it's very interesting now, isn't it, with the injury to Xavier Coates, Melbourne, who are already clearly desperate to get Zach Lomax. Geez, they're going to be desperate now. So interesting to see how this continues to play out in coming weeks, but I don't mind it. I think there is going to be probably numerous CT dubs who start the season well, and look, they might not even be bottom dollar to sort of 30K, 200K CT dubs. They might be guys at 280K or 310K, and they open up with 4 tries in 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm currently sitting with now 4 cheapy CT dubs. That's not including that's not flexing. That's just 3 on my bench and then 1 in my starting side off the back of this Leo news. I reckon early thoughts, again, the news has just come through, but is that I'll run 4 of them, try and just bank all that money early on, and then if one of them doesn't work out, which is every chance, and as you said, maybe Tommy Chester drops out or maybe Leo drops out, flip them to someone, round 3 or 4, whatever it might be. I just think with Makasini, I think I've seen enough. Obviously playing in the trials, no Skelton. Skelton, the word around Skelton and his injury concern, it's all a bit murky. We haven't seen too much information, but it sounds like he'll probably be available for round 1. I think he's got a shoulder complaint or something, but I've seen enough of Makasini. If he's generally trialling for a starting spot in round 1, which he is, he couldn't have done anything more in that trial. The barnstorming try he scored at centre, followed up with 2 tries on the wing, a hat-trick in a very short amount of time. What more does Benji need to see kind of thing? So, and look, it's Benji Marshall. It's not like a Wayne Bennett or a Craig Bellamy who's going to take a long time to blood and be patient. Benji sits there and goes, how good's this kid? Get into my team. We saw him do it with Lockie Galvin, didn't we, at 18 years old, and he's a half or 5'8". So with Makasini on the wing, I think Benji just plays him. And for what's probably an inevitable trade in round 4 for Makasini, if you don't start with him, I reckon I'm just going to bite the bullet and go with him. But yeah, nonetheless, mate, it's a really good point that you make. There is a world where you start with these 3 guys, and if one of them doesn't work out, you move them to Makasini round 4, whilst also alleviating any risk of what if Makasini doesn't get picked for the Tigers in round 2. So food for thought, mate. I don't mind that at all. All righty, guys, that might do us for the Q&A podcast for this week. The final one of kind of preseason. We have we have TLT next week with actual NRL teams being named for Vegas. As I said, as things stand, I've got a bit of extra time up the sleeve next week, which is delightful. So I'm keen to do more Q&As, especially live ones in the Discord community with the SC Playbook subscribers. So we'll jump into those, which have been good fun, and try and just smash through questions from the community leading into it. And we'll pump out a longer podcast, Q&A podcast next week as well as we prep teams ahead of Vegas. I have had my updated team reveal in the Discord. I did that on the chat last night, spoke through all my changes in my team off the back of recent news and trials and all sorts of things. We'll continue to do that one as well. We have coming, hopefully, I'm trying to get time, but now that we have TLT named, team this Tuesday for both trials, and we've had a weekend of trials, etc. Planning on getting to my cheapie analysis, going to break it into forwards and backs, 2 articles on the website ranking the best cheapies in the game, hoping to have both of those out this weekend. One of them should be out today by sort of mid-afternoon, but there you go. It's live now, it's in public, so I've set myself a challenge to get that done. Guys, hope you enjoyed the Q&A podcast for the week. Have a cracking weekend. Enjoy the trials. And yeah, next time I chat to you, we'll have the Vegas games on the horizon. Cheers.